Let's go. And will it be over in an instant if Impunity have their say? Let's hope, Clement, because games so far tonight have been bangers. Let's add another one to the list.
The early game for me is where MFT could claw themselves back and get themselves a good cushion to go into that late game. Diana, not really a good fighter, and we see 665 here, you know, going for the press the attack. So this is what we've seen from him a couple of times now. He's really trying to bank on the fact of that solo potential that you get with this rune, and also the exposed damage that you get when ganking. So I expect a very active early game from 665, and just trying to make sure that he can keep the Diana combo as delayed as possible.
So then talk to me about these neutrals, because from my understanding, a 6 has already been talked about from Impunity, but the early game through laning phase, you mean? That's when MFT kind of come alive, and they need to snowball this, you're saying, so that the mid game feels a bit easier with the comp they've drafted.
Yeah, for MFT, what usually happens is they get bludgeoned in lane, but once they start moving across the map, they actually have very good coordination. Their target selection is great. I think that was a very small snippet of the coordination we're talking about, making sure Taco gets the, I believe he got the EXP to level him up to level 2 on the first wave. So it is potential to see a big trade coming down here from Taco. And to take a look at his runes, he has very aggressive runes here, running the Ignite, no TP, plus the Ghost. So he's trying to fight fire with fire here.
Yeah, it really is. So it goes more towards that early game you're talking about and how they can get off the ground. For Faith on the Yasuo, an exciting pick to run with Diana on Taco's side. Guys, remember, it's going to be a hard game talking about both Tacos, importantly enough, especially if Taco ganks Taco up on the top side. Good little trade here from Wen. Response not coming through from Faith. So you talk about Yasuo having a good time in this lane, Clement, if you want to elaborate.
Yeah, I feel like earlier on, Yasuo does have kind of the poke potential here, and it's not happening on your screen right now, obviously. But yeah, I think just as kind of like a physical AD carry that can move around and harass a little bit easier, he does have a bit of a stronger early game. Silas is really, you're kind of banking on his later game portion where he has tremendous HP scaling. That's the thing that people don't really think about when they think about Silas, is that the reason he's such a good late game carry is because he has a very short ultimate cooldown. He can just get ults and ults and ults, and he has tremendous HP scaling. I believe it's the highest in the game, like over 100.
Wow.
I think it's at like 110 or 115. It's absolutely insane. So he is rather weaker early on. He starts with lower base, but he scales up into much higher highs here. And, you know, he does have mana concerns earlier on. We can already see him burning through double pots. So I do expect Faith to win this lane out, just by the fact that, you know, he is running Ignite. He has kind of AD carry early that's more reliant on auto attacks. And in the meantime, for MFT, they have to sort of equalize out that Silas with the volley bear, and you can see I think 665 doing a really good job in trying to check that Diana.
But Faith not really giving any angles right now. A deep ward put down anyway for 665, giving him an angle potentially for bot, but Taco doing the same up to Taco in the top lane.
Taco,
now Taco's going to be, he's going to be walking into brush. Now Quiet's there. It's a bit obvious though, and so Tacos are going to meet. Oh, they are.
I do think that Taco saw Taco's scrying orb, and now Taco is punching Taco.
So Taco actually flashes. Which Taco was it? Excuse me, no Taco flash. No summoners from Taco either. As Wen comes through the mid lane, good win walk here from Faith. 665 just going to be walking up towards the top side as Taco's there, but he's backing away. The other Taco gone too.
Yep, you know, Faith is relentless trying to get his CS, and MFT, I forgot to mention here, but they are playing a new support today as well in Renhao. Epoch sitting on the bench this time, and we will see what they get out of this bottom lane. I think so far their bottom lane laning strength has been a bit of concern, so maybe Renhao can bring a little bit more oomph in that department. In the meantime, I really like this play from Taco, just zoning out Taco, and I don't know why, but I'm getting addicted to saying this. This is actually really easy.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
Oh, man.
What I wanted to say is, because Taco is not running TP, it makes a lot of sense for Taco to zone him out.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry. I can't help myself.
That's okay, dude. There's going to be much more of it as Taco's actually burned the ghost from the top side. Quite in a bit of trouble. True damage comes through. A level disadvantage, but lethal tempo activated and ready to go. Quiet sent to his turret. That's a nice little trade there from the Gwen in the top lane.
Very well done. Has the extra back on top of Quiet, so was able to just bully him out here. And unfortunately, Faith really isn't getting enough support from the Diana. This is kind of what we expected. Volibear should be able to control this lane. However, no kills really found just yet either.
Yeah, laning phases just continue on. CS lead in the mid lane brewing. Top side as well. That's going to be a decent one as Quiet. Taco's going to be getting level 6. And look, 665's coming to the top lane. A blast cone to be taken or a brush to be spotted. Quiet going to have to run for his life. He has flash available. And 665 now just zoning out the Tryndamere. I mean, Taco gets a free turret plating and more.
Yeah, I really think you need the other Taco up here in the top lane. But they are going to send Pingwei instead, just to make sure that Quiet can at least hit level 6. That should expel any chance of the tower dive coming in. And it was really well done by MFT. What we have seen from 665 is that he is leeching EXP from his solo laners is part of their strategy. It's not, you know, in most other teams you see this as kind of a disadvantage for your solo laners, but not on this team because the main carry is 665 anyway. So
right.
He just hovers his lanes constantly, and he does get a really good punish onto Quiet.
Did you say 665 does more damage than his solo lanes? Was that what you said before?
Yes. 665 does more damage than, not his two solo laners combined.
No.
More damage than his top laner and more damage than his mid lane.
Yeah, no, combined would be stupid. But yeah, that's still a massive stat, and you can see 665 been running the map a bit, even starting up an early dragon. 7 minutes in, Cloud Dragon going to go down, and that's because Renhao and Whale were able to get the push down in the bottom lane. They move up and coordinate their efforts. Clement, 47 seconds until Herald spawns. So that's the next thing I'm looking at because Faith and Taco will both have their ultimates available. That combination that I wanted to see. Walk me through what the Herald fight looks like. I feel like a skirmish is brewing.
What I see out of the Herald fight is MFT should not go near it.
Okay.
That's essentially what I see out of it. Like, the combo potential is just too difficult to deal with, and Impunity really have a lot of chances to kind of avoid a counterattack here as well. You can't focus down Quiet. He can play super aggressive here. Like, what are you going to do against Quiet if he just runs into your face? If you stand there attacking him, then the combo is going to follow up with the Moonfall. So it's much easier to execute on all cylinders for Impunity, and I do expect them to make a very strong push here.
Okay, well, you heard it here. MFT should not contest this one, even with level 6 going down on 665. They've got a ward on it for now, and you can see that Taco is moving directly up the river. Faith following him as well. And Pinway's made the move, while MFT's bottom lane, Clement, actually staying in the wave. So I like this respect paid, this understanding. Taco on top of Quiet once again, that they're going to just look for turret plating within the lane, knowing they've already lost it.
Yeah, I feel like this is a very good move on their end. It's always bad to give Yasuo kills earlier on. He's a very snowbally type of champion, and Faith has played a lot of Yasuo in the past. And back in 2018, this was one of his go-tos. You know, we heard in the rumorville that he is more of a mage player these days, but once a Yasuo player, always a Yasuo player. So he still has that in his pocket pick.
Well,
meanwhile, they do get one plating, so you know, not a terrible loss for MFT.
Hoping for a little bit more there, but I believe Blaze was just clearing the waves in Q form. Quiet now ignited down top lane. Starts off with a needlework, the flash into range. But Taco knows that's expiring. He's got another piece of needlework as he can't layer it down. And the ghost popped as well. Someone has burnt in the top lane. So Mega Death Rocket flying through. The camera wants it to connect, but forward goes Taco. Quiet still getting the slow down though. Can he 1v1 this anymore? I'm not too sure, but the other Taco wants to make it a 2.
There can only be one Taco on the rift, and here he comes with the Herald.
And look at the dive in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, 665 knows what's going on as Blaze, the first target and the first blood. MFT won a second onto Pinway. Flash forward, no wonder he does the most damage. He absolutely destroyed him as Taco v Taco action. A fiesta of all sorts up in that top side. Nets a trade kill.
Yeah, it's very interesting on the escape coming in from Taco. He actually tried to go in from the back line, see if Gwen does it.
I think he can 1v2 Clement, but doesn't want to actually take it into account. The Undying Rage was stolen away, but you said there can only be one Taco. We now know who the real Taco is.
Let's watch this play again. Taco tries to make an escape here, unsuccessfully. Quiet, very close to death, doesn't really have his ultimate there, and he does bait out the Moonfall. Nowhere to go for him. I feel like it was just, destined to go that way, as his team gets a lot out of the bot lane, so overall I feel like that is a winning trade on the side of MFT. They take down a tower to 2 plates without using a Herald, and they do get the 2 extra kills too, so it does seem like Meta Falcon gets the better side of that.
And again, off the back of 665 making the play, we have been talking this guy up through this early game quite a lot. It feels like 665 is still the lifeblood of this team. He's now set up with a kill up in this early game as well. Clement went for the Lucidity boots nice and early. Now, I don't always see that on the Volibear jungle, so definitely looking for that rotation of spells a little bit sooner.
Yeah, I feel like this is just a tempo buy, and you'll see him switch it out in the later phases of the game, but he just wants to make sure he gets that timing onto the bot lane correct. And, to his credit, he does make the play happen here, so nothing to dislike about this. Taco getting a little bit more Taco love here.
Yeah, he is, and Faith is here for the ride as well. The last breath, that's already quiet to pop the ulti. As he goes through to Taco, look at this, Gwen play it out, but Faith gets his own. Going immune for now until the other Taco gets his fill. We're getting so hungry for this one. And Impunity keep diving top lane.
Yeah, this is... I almost feel like it's a little over-aggressive at this point, because...
Is it personal, Clement?
It could be. It definitely could be.
Give me my IGN back, you know what I mean? Like, that's not fair.
The question really is, what is MFT going to trade back at this point? And it does look like Drake and Tower, which... I actually feel like MFT don't even, it's not even that bad of a trade when you have your Aphelios ahead in this sense. We do have a lot of gold going over to Quiet, so maybe they can turn that into a snowballing push lane. But like you said, I guess it is personal, so we'll see how much they can get out of it.
Clement, whale on that note, you just mentioned he's going to be looking for the gold trade. Tucker on the top lane, he's defending well. 1v2 with Ghost and Ignite available, still going forward.
He pops
Ignite's down. Taco, he did take that personally.
Snip,
snip down. Clement, we are having Mexican food tonight.
They had no cooldowns. They still try to brute force that. That was, remember how I just said I feel like they're over-focusing on this top lane? They're kind of tunneling a little bit because of maybe because of the Taco name. That's a pretty good example of it. The first play is probably understandable. The second play was just so weird. They're trying to force feed Quiet into a winning position, but I don't think they really need to give up so much on the rest of the map to accomplish this.
And remember, we're in draft, you talked about, hey, MFT, they have opportunities to get ahead early, really build up momentum, and that mid game that looks so troublesome, if the game keeps going like this, forget it, doesn't matter. Silas, what 665 can do with his options, won't really exist if Impunity overdive or keep trading off for the bottom lane, because gold is now on the side of MFT. There's 2 dragons for an Ocean Soul game. It feels like they're in a pretty good position to move into mid-game comfortably.
And we do have to remember, MFT actually don't mind if you're trying to play a 1-3-1 style game plan. Like, trading side lanes is perfectly fine. The only thing they're super worried about is the wombo combo coming out from Impunity and Yasuo getting too far ahead. So just opening up the map up like this, I really don't see it as being all that bad from MFT. They're hyper-feeding their Aphelios at this point. Whale has gotten solo tower in the bot side, and he's up on farm, up on kills, has his mythic already. It's not too bad for MFT overall, and I think Impunity, they do have to make good use out of this Herald. I feel like if Yasuo doesn't get ahead in this meta, he actually can feel a little bit weak. Yone, in my opinion, is actually a much stronger champion. MFT could be walking themselves into trouble.
Well, 665 walks in first onto Quiet. He's the target over the wall. Everybody in the quickness as well. Those ultis trigger, but in the backline, Taco doing the dirty work. Now that they're gone MFT, they're getting burnt out, but look at the Gwen. Taco action at its finest. A double kill already going down. Running for the hills is Quiet, but Blaze needs to clean this up. Gwen's still dangerous, but not with Pinway on the way. And Impunity, Clement, turn it around with their explosive tactics.
Yeah, MFT, they just walk headfirst into that trap there. Impunity were set, ready, and waiting. They get a pretty good ultimate out of the last breath. Last breath only hit one person, but the Moonfall follow-up was really good here. Let's watch this again. 665 takes a lot of damage right off the bat, and unfortunately for Whale, he does not manage to land the Moonlight Vigil, I believe. So it goes, it was stopped by the wind wall. Very well done there by FaZe, just predicting that play and knowing that was going to come over. So missing key ultimates in this one. Quiet, he's very low priority in terms of taking aggro here, and he gets to clean up the rest of the map. Overall, I just feel like MFT didn't need to contest that as hard as they did. They didn't have vision control. The enemy team was already stacked up in position. And it was a great play from Faith to get his team snowballing.
I'll be honest, I focused on the wrong Taco in that fight. The Diana was beautiful. Three-man ulti that comes down. And you mentioned the wind wall. Nice little niche detail there, Clement. Because now Gold switch back around. Impunity have themselves a Rift Herald, I believe? No. Wait, who got the Herald? Who put it down? Maybe it was already put down in the replay. Maybe I'm absolutely blind. You're going to have to tell me. I'm not sure if you caught that one, but after all said and done,
it should have gone to Impunity. I believe MFT were a little too late to that one, so it's probably already used up on... I don't know where it was used, though. That's really interesting.
Hey, Clement, I'll bring you back to a more important point. We can talk about Herald a little bit later. Okay. Dragon's up in 40 seconds, and we know how Impunity run their comp. As gold difference at the bottom of our screen, ignore that. That looks like a very at-home gold graph for me. Impunity's all in. Pinway's ulti, as we saw there, Faith's ulti, Taco, it all comes together. It's all the mosh pit that if MFT walk into, the game feels like it's over.
Yeah, MFT, they have a very difficult mid-game to contend against. Very interesting, they do have the Turbo Chem tank, so maybe the play is trying to go for a pick on the periphery.
He's face checking. The Trinity face checking, insta stun. He's going to have to burn the ulti, but there we go again! The last breath of a Moonfall is instantaneous, but Impunity getting turned around, or they haven't done all the damage they needed to, and Whale was able to fight back along with the other Taco. A big deal. Clement, it looked so good, but they didn't hit the right members.
That was great from Wen. Taking away the quickness from Rakan was exactly what they needed there. They got great counter engage. They slowed down the entire follow-up from the last breath, and Impunity just didn't have enough time to get the damage through. So even though it looked like a pretty good, upfront positioning here, I don't think they got a lot of value. And in the meantime, Taco just gets perfect positioning onto the Jinx. So absolutely no follow-up. The quickness stops everyone. Impunity afterwards gets slowed down by Taco. An easy chase down coming in from the rest of the squad. Very well done. I didn't expect them to be able to claw out a win in a mid-game team fight, but MFT proved me wrong, and they're now close to a Dragon Soul. What?
And I think also, like with the 3 dragons, good point. I want to pull out that Whale's gold that's been channeled into him is making a difference too. With how quick they can get the return kills, if Whale's not touched, that 2 item with now Collector on the 80 carry of MFT, that's a very big issue that Blaze is trying to catch up on, trying to get his second item himself. Aphelios is crazy in these fights, Clement, and there's a lot of burst in a small AoE area too that I think Impunity need to be wary of when they send in everyone with the ultis.
Yeah, I feel like Impunity are going to try again relatively soon. Just use that window when Whale doesn't have his flash available. The next fight should be a lot easier for them to kind of execute, but they do have to pick their targets. What we saw in the previous one is they just went all in right onto Renhao, and Nautilus is... he's perfectly happy to sit there and throw out his ultimate, CC everyone in that instance. So I do think they need to be a little bit more subtle with their engage in this point, and someone has to be taking care of Blaze. They can't just be all forward. Blaze didn't have room to do anything in that fight. He had Taco sitting right on top of him, and I don't blame him for backing out. There's literally nothing he can do.
Which is why I guess the rapid fire cannon's it's going to be a big second item here, Clement, so we can buy a bit more space and get a couple of these key autos off without moving into range. We're going to be waiting for the next fight, though, and Baron up in 10 seconds, 3 minutes until the Dragon. And the biggest thing for me is that for MFT, they're now on sole point. You mentioned it before. A very big deal considering that Impunity have to fight for the next Dragon, and sure, they might not mind it considering they're in the mid-game here. But MFT are still pretty dangerous, and I don't know, the fights haven't been going as quickly as we expected.
Yeah, I think a big problem with what's happened so far is that, unfortunately, Faith just has not gotten the kills. Yasuo is a champion that does need to snowball a bit to have the same oomph as his counterparts on the map. And
he needs
right
10
now he's
deaths,
still...
Clement. That's the issue. He hasn't got enough deaths as a Yasuo. That's when you get the real power spike to 0-10.
I'm not sure if that's how Australian Yasuos work, but...
No, that's how all Yasuos work. All Yasuo. It's not just us upside down people that need to see Yasuos in. It's everyone across the world. NA especially, I'll tell you what, their server housing some pretty good Yasuos themselves. Hey, what is happening? What is this?
They're death brushing. I don't think MFT are going to go there, and I don't feel like Impunity are even that fast at taking Baron right now, so don't really see a huge reason why MFT would fall for this one. And yeah, they aren't. Anyway.
So, all right. Well, death brush averted, and I thought it was going to build up to something a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm MFT, that's kind of an obvious bluff. Like, sure, there's a lot of damage on Impunity, but are they really going to risk funneling against a fed Aphelios? Probably not. So, yeah, I think MFT just, push their lanes, stay safe, and they just wait for the next trade. The game plan is super easy there. I will say, however, like, at this junction in the game, I still feel like Impunity have a great chance to just wombo combo to death MFT. You look, there's still no Guardian's Angel on Aphelios. It's still pretty easy to take down at this point. And yeah, as long as they don't mess up their positioning like the last time, if they can get a backlining target, if they start on Wen or Whale, it should be almost an instant wipe.
Okay. Well, a couple of their big wombos so far haven't included Whale. That one before in front of Herald, that was a very different story, but those opportunities don't always come around. IMP pinging on top of the Baron. They know there's vision in the back of the pit. That control ward going to stop 2 out of the 3 wards. And Pinway going to clear that control ward as Taco finds another. So right now, drawing MFT around to the Baron. They're actually going to start this one up, Clement. And IMP, he said they don't do it too fast. Well, we'll see with Faith getting away.
They do a lot of damage, but the positioning here is terrible if they do get caught in a fight.
5 is just walking in. Stormbringer as well can go over the wall. He's charmed. They're trying to burst him down. Hit in the air. He goes in. 136 to smite a bit early. Worth an attempt as IMP decide to 50-50 the Baron like absolute chads, but there's an Ocean Soul coming up and they have to reset.
I don't think they're going to get it. I think this is just a trade straight for the inhibitor here. So, very interesting call. It felt extremely risky to me, but Impunity still somehow pulled it off. It did come down to a smite fight, an even level smite fight at that, so you can tell I'm not a huge fan of this play, and they're also giving over Dragon Soul, but we'll see what the continuation here. They do have a sudden burst of power on the map, though. They can use this to take down a ton of towers and make sure they have a solid gold lead.
But then, Clement, if this doesn't work, if they can't break the base here, do you not just sacrifice the potential game? Is this like them throwing a Hail Mary for the sake of speeding up the game again?
I will say the Ocean Soul probably doesn't matter given their team composition. They're wombo combo anyway. Like, the fight's supposed to be over in an instant.
Hey, that's a good point.
The sustain, maybe not a huge factor for them. Okay. It's still big, though. I'm not going to lie. Like,
it's still
having
big.
the Ocean Soul in the fight, it's still pretty big. Like, if Wen somehow stays alive, or if, like, Whale stays alive, he's going to be full health in a couple of seconds. So, it's a super risky trade. And this is kind of my biggest gripe about Impunity. I feel like their Baron trades have been super risky. It's not exactly my cup of tea. But hey, maybe they'll make it work.
Yeah, we'll see. At this point as well, with the skepticism from us, note that Impunity still have the 4K gold lead just about here at 24 minutes. Excuse me. And we do have Quiet with 3 items. So the Tryndamere that was set up for success up in that top lane with the constant dives, despite Taco getting 1 back at that tier 2, there is a huge sidelaner from Quiet and Clement. I'm kind of questioning why Quiet is still grouping up with the team rather than putting on side lane pressure, if you want to alleviate some of those questions for me.
I think for this play, they're just like kind of grouping for a 4-1, and they're just going to sweep downwards. It's just about immediate gold for them. I feel like if you're giving over Soul for Baron, that has to be your just short-term strategy, is just kind of use this to snowball the game into oblivion here. I feel like for MFT, they're just playing for stops. They can give over the tower, but they want to do so slowly, and they don't want to lose any of the inhibitor towers.
Buy themselves some of that time. You talk about 20 seconds till Baron expires. They still haven't broken the base, though. Snowballing into oblivion, possible if they get a pick on the back end as Blaze gets excited. Walks forward, but the Baron about to expire. Still 5,000 gold for a Baron play is massive. And now I guess we wait until an Elder, which it won't matter if you have an Ocean Soul. With the gold lead, with your huge gap in items, maybe that plan comes into fruition and you're able to end it there.
If they make it work, it really is some 5-head macro that just completely escapes me. You know, trading Baron for Soul and doing a 50-50 Baron for that play. Like, oh, a lot of things could have gone wrong there. I'm pretty happy for Impunity that they didn't. But, you know, this is really the moment of truth coming in on the next play here. At this point, Whale does a lot of damage here. I really want to see Whale at least, you know, go for a stopwatch before he goes into this next fight. We'll see if he does try to itemize for that. There's still a little bit more time on the Elder, 2 minutes towards the Elder. Setting up for the Death Brush here is interesting, but it could backfire.
It could. 665 going to get out with a Crescent Strike. Taco was in the pit as well. Note that Elder doesn't spawn for 1:45. Baron for another 2 minutes and 5 seconds too. So right now, just grouping up for a potential pick that leads to gold, that stabilizes the game, slows it down for MFT, snowballs it further for IMP. Because I feel like if IMP get another pick here, Clement, they break open the base. That snowball they talk about is huge, and they're looking for the brush. No! Okay, Taco got out.
Good try, good try.
Yeah,
I actually like this try because they're burning a cooldown that's going to be up again at the Elder. So that was a very, very low risk play that could have netted them big. I actually like that macro play.
Well, Clement, you've been saying this game that, you know, you've been liking what IMP put together. However, MFT, we've come to this state where we're getting towards the late game. Now, you were talking about the scaling and what this team does. They do have an Ocean Soul. Yes, it's not as impactful because IMP have Burst. We're going to come back to the fact that if Elder either gets delayed or gets taken by MFT to steal or pushes IMP off with a pick, this game changes its state very quickly, and we start changing our stance on what IMP will do in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, the next fight is going to be absolutely critical, and there's a couple things that we need to break down here. Number one, Yasuo is a complete tank. Like, he's meant to just cast his wind wall, and he has no damage at this point. He really isn't a factor coming into this next fight. The real target should always be Quiet. Like, Quiet is the one that is going to go into your backline. He does have a Navori Quick Blade for lots of spins very early on. So I feel like MFT, if they want to portion their crowd control, portioning it on Quiet is going to be the #1 priority for them. And they also have to kite back quite well. So we do have the stopwatch like I wanted onto Whale. That's going to be absolutely massive for him to avoid the crowd control. Yep. And, you know, we'll see how this one goes as...
Gale Force forward from Whale, wanted to find Blaze, he uses his own. So it's ulti from Whale that won't be alive for this Elder, for this Baron. Clement, Blaze just had to use his Gale Force, so I guess a net positive trade for IMP.
Yeah, like, Impunity, they really don't need that Gale Force for Blaze to disengage. Like, his team is trying to go forward. At the same time, we have a interesting play again. Tryndamere is not going to join this fight. Neither top laner has a TP this game. And they are trying to risk it for the biscuit once more. I don't think 50-50ing it here is necessary. I almost feel like Impunity can just play for the Elder. When you're playing on blue side for the Elder, it does mean that you have these open ramps that MFT have to walk down towards. And with their current gold lead, they should be able to force River Vision and force MFT to funnel towards them.
Which they're doing right now, clearing out vision towards the Elder. Spawned in front of them, Ping's getting slammed down. If Quiet backs, which of course he will not, he wouldn't be able to make his way back into the fight. Clement already mentioned the TPs here as MFT have done their due diligence. Elder trade, I'm not sure if it's going to be worth MFT baiting it out for now. And IMP have to pay the respect. They have to come and check this to make sure it's not being done.
Yeah, the problem here is I felt like they should have established vision on this side of the map a little bit earlier. Elder is going to take priority over Baron, I think, any day of the week in this situation. So the tables are sort of flipped here, where Impunity now are the ones that have to funnel themselves into the river. Definitely not where they want to be. Quiet is spotted out as well. Very close call right there. So I feel like Impunity right now are caught in a more difficult position, because if MFT start, they still have to come down here. Like, MFT have the right of way here. And how are they going to do it when they're the ones that are supposed to find flanks into the back line and they're late to the party?
And look at where the Dragon is that gets bursted down. Taco in a weird position. He has Flash and Moonfall available. 5Ks are going in. The quickness set up the face of Wombo, the Moonfall as well. Right now burning down the back line. 665. The jungler is destroyed. Taco on top of FaZe while the rest of Impunity blow them up. But Whale doing a hell of a time. He'll go down too as the full-blown ace comes through. And Clement, Pinway starts it all to end.
It doesn't even matter. That was great play from the entire team there, and I feel like a lot of members knew exactly what their job was. Faith just walks right in front of Whale, slams the wind wall down. There's no damage done for them. They pick off the first 2 carries right off the bat with the Wombo combo, and then they move to mow the entire team down. You know, Impunity this time around, I have to say their macro play in the end does work out. They get their first win in the PCS, maybe their first win at 665, not enough to stop.
Can't do it, but Clement, you're right. Their first win here, 0